Hi, everyone. My name is Jillian, and I'm the conference coordinator for this year's New Orleans Film Festival. And I am really, really excited about this conversation we're about to have. I know that everyone loved Sinners. I loved Sinners. So I'm really excited to hear from the people who really made all that visual magic happen. And without further ado, please welcome Pamela to the stage.
Is it on? Yeah, is this mic on? I am super excited to bring you some of the most talented people I have had the opportunity to work with. I did not work on Sinners, but I have worked with them in the industry in New Orleans for a number of years. This was an idea that popped into my head after seeing Sinners. My best friend happens to be the key makeup. And so after seeing the film, I said to myself, oh my God, can I get you guys to come and sit and do a panel with me? And that was back when the film first came out, and we've been doing this panel ever since. And I'm so proud to bring them to you. First, we have coming up is Doug. Doug Ware is the head of props for Sinners. Come on, Doug. Next is Allison, LaCour, also our key makeup for Sinners. Next is Lala. I just asked Lala for her full name just now because I've always known her as Lala. Laresheya, thank you so much for coming. And finally, the beautiful Chasity Lands, who is costumes. Can you not see the costume people? I looked at them outside earlier and I said, you all look like black superheroes. We did not agree on black today, but apparently that's how we were feeling. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Are all your mics working? Let me hear you, Lala.
Hi.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Good. So, Sinners. None of you liked it, right? Okay, just checking the temperature of the audience. The interesting thing, and I'm going to set the tone, the reason why I also did this panel is because we are African Americans who work below the line in film and TV, which is relatively unique in terms of Louisiana. And so it came to my mind that you don't necessarily see the masters behind what is going on the screen. And so I wanted to bring these folks together. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask the panel, how many of you have been on a production that has won a SAG award or been nominated for a SAG award? Okay. How many of you have been on Emmy award-winning productions or been nominated? Emmy Productions. Uh-oh. And how many of you have been on Oscar-nominated productions? What you are seeing is extremely unique. You're not going to take a picture. It's going to last longer. I'm telling you this because it is hard to see how individual and how talented they are to have been on those types of productions and still be working as often as they do, even though we're in a slow season in film. So I'm gonna start with Doug. Doug's always a favorite of mine because Doug has interesting things that happen to him in props. First of all, Doug, how many other African-American prop masters are there in this state?
One.
Who is it?
Me.
It's Doug, okay? I'm gonna keep drilling that
For
too.
now.
For now, because we all have a responsibility to bring other people up behind us, and that's what this is also about. So Doug, what's your favorite prop that you had to obtain for Sinners?
There's a lot. There's the vampire stakes. I still get them confused. Stack's
and smoke,
knife.
right.
Smoke's holster, the leather handmade holster that was handmade here in New Orleans.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ruth Carter, the costume designer.
Yes.
She and I couldn't find the right look,
Yeah.
so we had to find somebody that could make it for us.
How much was that, Doug? We like to say the price. Look, I saw his mouth go, oh, yeah, how much was that?
For all three of them?
There were three. Okay.
I may be off by a few dollars, maybe close to $4,000 for each one. Or,
Four.
sorry, total for all three.
Oh, for all three. That's not bad, right? When's the last time you bought a holster? Yeah. So that sounds good to me,
But
Doug.
to answer your question,
Yes.
I think the box that had the weapons in it, the Tommy gun and the rifle,
Yeah.
I think I like that because you don't see it a lot on screen, or you don't see the contents.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the guns, we put letters in there from Mary to Stack.
There were letters in there.
Yeah. I still have some of them. It's like,
Ooh.
it was a real movie letter. So it was like
Yeah.
real correspondence between the two. There were a couple of World War I medals. There was a wool blanket, helmet. But I like that because my team and I got to create that. Not the box, but the contents. Ryan knew the guns were in there. But everything else, he was like, I don't know what else will be in there, so you come up with something.
Oh, okay.
So we got to kind of brainstorm and think about what would be something they would want to keep
Yeah.
after the war that would still be in there.
Okay.
So the letter, next time you watch it, if you pause it on that scene and then zoom in, you can see some of those things.
We're here to give you tips for things you might have missed,
Yeah.
okay?
It's real quick, but it's in there.
But it's there. Allison, as we said, Allison worked as key makeup. So Allison, in trying to tell a historical story, this is the 1930s, right? What direction were you given, or in terms of how you could be creative on the different characters that you did?
We were given direction, well, I was given direction as far as the design. Ryan had a bunch of books in the production office that they were there in prep, that you could literally just go, pick up, take, look, read. Very historical picture books, coffee table books from photographers in the South, from the Delta. And Ryan is a big history buff, and he's really big on being authentic. And for me, looking at those picture books, it was pretty much like wanting to see everything just come up off the pages, right? But in real time and in this time. So it was literally recreating the 30s and also trying to retell these stories of all these people that came before us, but through skin. So telling the struggle through skin, telling the environment through skin, the heat, the humidity, the toil, the labor with the sharecroppers, and just life in general as it heats up, especially in the juke joint, and having all of that show through skin while keeping it as authentic as possible. One of the biggest transformations for me aesthetically, Lee Jung-lee, who plays Grace, she is a modern Chinese woman who's playing a Southern Chinese immigrant, right? Who, I mean, we all know about the Dolly documentaries that have come out about the Chinese immigrants in the South. Well, she had microbladed eyebrows. You know, she had all these things that didn't say Southern Chinese immigrant in the 1930s. So I literally had to block the brows, get rid of the microblade, redraw, or refill and give that appearance. I had to change her texture. Her skin was gorgeous, right? Because she's going to spas and doing the things while she's traveling across the world. So I literally had to give her a sun-kissed, sun-bathed look, give her texture, give her sunspots. Everybody had tattoos. I had to cover tattoos. One thing that I'm very proud of with this is we had to cover them, but we had to find a way to cover them quickly. Very quickly, in and out the door. And then another thing is we had to translate that and carry on this look and this technique to the background actors and the extras. One thing that I'm super, super proud of is that the look aesthetically carries all the way through. So when you look at the townspeople and they're at the grocery store and they're in Bo Chow's store and they're in, you can't tell the difference in regards to texture from the principal actors to them as townsfolk, right? So making sure that they had a sheen to their skin was, if it needed to be a little touched by the sun, if they needed to have a little dirt, people that were working, Bo Chow, especially in the grocery store, giving them that same treatment and making sure that the additional artists were able to get these people in and out in the right amount of time. We had almost 200 background people a day, and half of those were regulars. So they were there every day, from the grocery store scenes to the juke joint scenes, right? And so making sure that they get this done, we airbrushed all the tattoos. They were airbrushed, teaching young artists who weren't familiar with working on set. I wanted to make sure that I extended the opportunity to makeup artists of color to be a part of telling the story, right? And I also wanted to make sure that those artists of color who weren't necessarily union, you wouldn't be able to tell a difference between those artists and union artists that were on set, right? I didn't want anybody from, a union artist coming on set and then saying, oh, well, what do you have here? And then looking at her setup and like, why doesn't she have this or why doesn't she have that? I wanted to make sure that they were equipped and ready, and there was no difference between them, and the union artists, right? And not only did they show up, but they showed out, and they did it, and I just can't wait. I can't wait for award season. I can't wait for, because it's gonna be a testament to their work. It was truly a team that did everything, right? So.
Yeah, I bankrolled this all the way when I decided to do a panel on Sinners, because I was like, they are going to get every Oscar they deserve. So I'm gonna move on, thank you. I'm gonna move on to this lovely young lady, Lala, Lala has the biggest come up, okay? The biggest come up. Lala, just tell people your story from where you started on Sinners. Now, I've seen you on other productions, PA. I know who you are. Fastidious, she's on top of her game all the time. But give the people your story.
Thank you. I started on Center as a intern, camera intern, which is something that isn't often. Like, I was told that from the beginning, like, they don't really do internship for camera department. And then Stevie from Novak, she emailed me, and I was like, it was grilled cheese at the time. I didn't know what it was.
The movie was known as grilled cheese.
Right, Sinners was known as grilled cheese. And I was like, I don't care, it's a camera opportunity, so. And it was my first time in camera, and imagine your first time in camera. And it's a Ryan Coogler movie, Autumn Doral Alcohol, like Hannah doing production design. How it was amazing. So I was in pre-production with Autumn, just me and her. She would give me like different tasks and.
Autumn is the cinematographer.
Yes, Autumn Doral Archipel, she's the cinematographer for Sinners. So I was like being her assistant for pre-production. And like she would give me tasks. Like I wouldn't know, it was a lot of things I didn't know going into this. But she was like, okay, I'm gonna give you this task. She'll go on a tech scout to locations, come back, and I'll have the task done. And from there, it was like more and more tasks. And like during pre-production, we really got close to where we developed a good relationship. And then once we got on set, the ball was just like being her personal assistant as well as camera utility, camera intern. So after 60 days of doing camera intern, it was supposed to be, that was it. But Autumn and the camera department, they were just like, no, she's not going anywhere. She's staying until the end of the production. So I ended up being camera utility as well as joining Local 600. All in one production, which was, it was overwhelming and something that I didn't process during that time, like in the moment. And people were telling me like, oh, you need to make sure that you take, somebody told me to journal it, like journal everything that I'm feeling right now so I can come back to it. Because in the moment, I wasn't able to process it because we're still doing the show. And so joined the local 600, amazing.
And Ryan actually, it was a whole thing. They made a big thing on set. We were at Rap at the end of day. We clapped for her before we clapped out.
It was
It
at Rap.
It was at Rap.
Yeah.
And no, it was at Rap. And the first AD, he literally, before we were rapping, he's like, we have a celebration. And he literally put her on the spot, and everybody clapped her in for joining Local 600. And it was just a beautiful thing to see the entire crew celebrate her as, a young Black woman joining Local 600, which is just, it's not an easy feat, and it's just not something that you hear about often, right? And I mean, everybody lifted her up. Like, I was crying on set. Like, it was great. Autumn, like, she fought for you, and that kind of gave you a little peek as to what it was like to work on that crew and on that set, and how Ryan really just love made this film, right?
Yeah.
So, testament to that.
Autumn, she always fought for camera crew, like, because a lot of us didn't work with that format, like IMAX. So it was just like, how it's like everybody's testy, like, okay, that camera, they let me hold, like, okay, put the camera in the gator and bring it to set. I was like, you want me to bring this IMAX camera? Like, I don't know how much it was worth, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. But like, it was my first time on the set, first time in camera. And when I would tell people that, they'll be like, oh, I didn't, this your first time, what? Like, I didn't know a lot of things, but telling me once, that's all I needed. You tell me
Couldn't
once.
tell she was new at it. She moved like a professional.
Listen, every time I've been on a production or seen Lala, when I say she's on it, she's on it, And so what she has essentially said is, day one, she got coffee.
Yeah.
Final day, she was jumped into the union.
No, like, I was getting coffee, tea. I knew people's order by heart. But it was like, I didn't know. I didn't mind getting those things. And them seeing that I didn't care about, okay, I gotta go get coffee. Most people would be like, oh, I gotta go get coffee. No, like, I'm gonna go get the coffee. Yeah. And then next thing you know, they're asking me to slate. They're asking me to load. They taught me how to load the IMAX mag, which is, and then they were just like, oh, your mag is up next. And I'm like, up next where? They're like, oh, it's going on the camera. I'm like, I'm gonna go this way. Said it that way. I'm gonna go that way. I don't wanna know what happens. You let me know what happens after this.
So when I say her story is exciting, I'm gonna move on to our next panelist, Chasity Lance. Now, Chasity and I have worked together a number of times. Queen Sugar. There's another one that I didn't actually go on, but I'd done the prep work for it. Chasity has done background, and when I say she knows her background costuming, she knows it. All you have to do is give her a list, and she's like, boom, boom, boom. Chasity, you're with Ruth Carter.
Yes.
Tell us about your experience in costuming with Ruth.
Hi, everyone. I want to say my experience was, at first I was nervous, because I was like, I'm working with Ruth freaking Carter. And then I just started to grasp, like, okay, Ruth Carter, let's push it on. So I helped her, I assisted her with her boards, and that process alone just widened my horizon with just making a mood board. It's not just pictures, you're building a story through it. And I never seen a designer put the actor's face in the actual costumes, just like mock-ups. And it's just like little things that she did made a big difference, like 3D pictures cut out so you could get like a feel of the movie. And she had it a way that the scenes was lined up, like for scene, like going from the church, driving from the church where, what's his name, Sammy was driving from the church, and how everybody was dressed, and then how they moved from there to the corner store, to the juke joint. It was just, all flowing and made the emotion of each scene, like how they wore white, just to purify that scene of him coming home, and how like all the people in the church needed to be prestige, have some type of, you know, we're in poverty, but we have dignity in how we present ourselves. So it was just like things like that, and how her thought process for each scene made me just like really love building boards. And I was like, okay, I could go slap some pictures, but it's like, how, if you have a client, how are you gonna personalize that for everyone and build that story for everyone? So in that moment, that was amazing. She called me out a couple times because I didn't do my research on some stuff, but that, in that moment too, that made me realize that I'm not just working on a movie. I need to know like the background, and when I have people, because I was the lead fitter for Sinners, and when people came in, most of the time I was the one fitting them. So I need to know how a certain tie needs to be tied, or if I don't know how to do it, learn it. And it's not like, you don't know how to do it, I'll do it. It's like, you need to learn it, you got it, move along, knowing like color schemes, and like, we're not doing like, what is that, dealers. These are classic people, low-end people, trying to,
right.
Like, we're not trying to give them full suits, everybody. I was trying to put everybody in a full suit, three-piece suit. But, did I answer your question?
You
Because I
did.
can keep going.
I know you could. You know, you touched on something about the particulars of Black folks, and when you talked about wearing white and going to church, and I've been on films where you have to kind of come from your own Black history, the history of your life, where you're saying, yeah, we would actually have put petroleum jelly on our knees and on our legs. I've done that in a film where I was like, hey, you might want to put some grease on the kids' legs. And the person said to me, but why? And they were white, but why? And I said, Black mothers don't let their children, I don't care what year it is, go out of the house ashy. And she just looked at me like, huh? I said, trust me when I tell you this. She said, but they're at the playground, they're playing it. No, baby, put the grease on their legs. And so calling on your experiences in life in general, and having to make some quick decisions, because I know you did, if you were anywhere with, which I know you were doing with hundreds of people, Chasity, what quick decisions did you have to make about costuming? Like, an item just is destroyed, because I know you had some vintage pieces, quite a few.
Yeah, I learned how to mend costumes. Yeah, I think that was my first day on set.
Yeah.
We were done fitting, so she was like, okay, it's time for you to go to set. And I was like, and the costume ended up ripping as they were putting it on, a couple people. So
Yeah.
I learned how to mend that day, quick little mend, and sewing buttons, which that was pretty easy. But some people, we brought extra clothes on set just in case, like that time Ruth doesn't like anything, you have to be quick on your feet and just have like a stock of clothes ready. So in that process, being quick on my feet, knowing how to mend and knowing how to do it quickly in a timely manner. But she says she doesn't like this. What options do you have? It's not an excuse to not have anything. You need at least 2 or 3 options just so she could jazz it up.
There are no
So,
excuses.
Yeah, no excuses.
Ever on a set or in a film. I know all about it. Lala, you were telling me out, I was asking you, in camera utility, lifting those mags, how heavy were they?
So the mags themselves, so you have the camera mag that goes on the back of the camera where the film is, and then they're in cases. So those cases were like 45 pounds, 50 pounds, and most of the time we're shooting with 2 cameras. So you gotta, eventually we got like little wagons, but at first you had to do like a farmer's carry, like holding both the mags.
Right.
And the film runs out quick. So if we're doing IMAX, I think it was like 2 to 3 minutes. And by the time I get back to the truck, it's time to go back with another one. I'm going back and forth. It's the best workout, but also in the heat, it was not fun at all. But I mean, it was in a sense, because Ryan said it was kind of like when we did reloads, it was kind of like we're in a NASCAR, like the pit. That's what it felt like. It was like, okay.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so that was fun.
I love that. You have to remember, and she keeps saying IMAX and film. Film, IMAX. By now, most movies, let me get that right, are done in digital, right? So there's not that kind of painstaking work that comes with that. So the fact that she's learning old school stuff, and I mean old school stuff, is impressive, and very few people will stand that number with you, so I just want to say, awesome for you. Allison, tell me, now, I've seen the film, let me be honest, I've seen the film with Allison maybe 5, 6 times, just because that's how best friends run, right? And every so often, she will say, now, this is like having a running trailer next to you when a film is going, and, you know, you want black people to be quiet, but they're not quiet in the film. So she will say, when someone comes across the screen, the skin is skinning. You know, wouldn't you be proud of your own work? Allison, tell me some of your best skin is skinning moments across the screen.
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. Like I said, I am very proud of the continuity of the skin from principles to background, and the fact that everything was one seamless aesthetic look. When we first see Wumi as Annie, skin. I was responsible for doing Annie. We built a great relationship. And one thing I will say about this film is, just going back to old school, the greats like Ruth Carter and Ryan and Hannah, and just working with all of these people who left their egos at the door, right? They came because they realized what we were all doing. We all had the same end goal, and we all put our heart, sweat, tears, blood into this, and they understood that, right? So I would be on set, and even Ruth would be like, are you gonna add a little water to his thing? And I was like, well, I can't do it to the hair, right? Because we have rules. But Ruth Carter, you can't tell Ruth nothing. So Ruth's like, give me that. And so she grabs and she's just spraying up, you know, she's like, he needs more water in the hair. And I was like, but I'm not hair, Ruth, I can't touch hair. So, but it was kind of like almost not a movie set. It was unlike any set that I've ever been on. And I've been on some really great sets of the resumes, okay? But this set was like family. It was like a family reunion, aunties, uncles, who were just like, yeah, bump all that. We are doing what needs to be done to get the job done. And Ryan was the same way, you know, like he was on set every day, talking to everybody, knew everybody by name. So just going back, and this makeup was not a challenge for me, but it took me back, because doing makeup on film is different than doing makeup on digital, right? We originally learned how to do makeup on film, which you go back to Max Factor and all of these, you know, it's different makeup, it's different creams, it's different powders. We've got to do, you know, we have to make up for light and all of these other things that are on film versus digital, where we don't want to see makeup, right? Because everything is right there, 4K. So it was way different. And I will say that we got to actually use products that she said, Vaseline and petroleum, to make sure the skin was, you know, I wouldn't say shining, but we wanted the skin to look ethereal. We wanted it to look like it was lived in, like it was real, like it was authentic. Putting petroleum on the legs and feet before the sharecroppers went out into the cotton fields, and they literally were in cotton fields. They were in literal cotton fields, so the dirt was not makeup dirt, it was real dirt. It was very authentic, and it was very real. It just felt very natural, organic, and so what you see is what it was. Like, it wasn't anything that was, I mean, aside from the twin action, there wasn't really much that was VFX, right? Maybe some of the special effects and fire and stuff like that, but everything else was makeup, hand, emotions, all of the things. So, yeah.
Awesome. Doug, tell the people, what does props really consist of? You have a quick sentence that you give me every time.
Everything? All the things?
All the things.
Everything?
Everything.
Yeah. It crosses almost every department sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she was saying with Ruth Carter. Ruth Carter was giving out props.
Was she?
Yeah.
Tell us the dirt. What kind of props?
The glasses. She asked me to order glasses
Okay.
for background.
For background.
And then she said, okay, bring them to the costume trailer so I can give them out. What am I going to say to Ruth Carter?
You're going to say yes.
Say yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a really quick story in regards to that too. So day one, we shot the very last scene of the film, the 90s portion, which is one of my favorite scenes. And the bouncer who was at the jazz club, who let Stack and Mary in to see Buddy Guy, we were like, oh, we're gonna give him, like, he was in the barber's chair. I actually have pictures and videos of him in the barber's chair getting the high top fade, stacked. We had already pulled the reference photos, trying to go for like a Rakim. I did his grooming to give him the thin, strap with the goatee, all of the things. And he's in my chair after just leaving the barber with the high top stack fade, clean. I mean, it was beautiful, right? Ruth walks in the trailer with that Kangol hat and she stands behind him as I'm in front of him, right? And she tries the hat on top of the fade, just sticks it right on top. She's like, yeah, that'll do. And I look down to the barber and I'm like, and he's looking at me like, and I was like, so I was done and I was like, back to the barber. So they had to braid him down and put the hat on his head. Because it was like, Ruth said he wears a hat, he's gonna wear a hat.
He's gonna wear a hat. So, Doug, it seems like everybody had a Ruth Carter moment. That's what I'm checking, which I love. But when we talk about props, and I love when you talk about the guitar. Tell me, why is he doing that? Tell me about the guitar.
Which one?
Right.
Oh gosh, that's the whole thing. So in the beginning, all these things happen in prep. Sammy's guitar was actually supposed to be haint blue. There was a lot of haint blue throughout the script.
Makes sense.
And a lot of it went away. But the guitar is supposed to be haint blue. So we found the period appropriate guitar. We had two of them. Had it stripped. I took it to somebody to paint. They started to paint it. And then Ryan and Ludwig, the composer, decided guitar should be black.
Come on, props.
So and I'm sure it happens in other departments. When you get that news, you say, okay, then you have that moment to yourself.
Yes.
Where it's like,
Always to yourself.
Preach, Doug, preach.
and then you say, okay, no problem. I'll get it done. So then we had to find an authentic, the guitar that Sammy plays is an actual 1932 Dobro something, I forget the actual name. So we went to find it online. They don't make them anymore. You have to find collectors. Well, most of the collectors are overseas.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a whole Facebook group of these guitar collectors. And these things go from $1,000 to maybe 3 or 4, depending on condition and all that stuff. So we couldn't afford that. The good thing was the composer had his own, surprisingly. I don't know where he got them. They just appeared. He was like, we're gonna go with these, which is why they went with black. So then the guitars I had painted, that I didn't know what to do with them. I think they're in storage. But yeah, it worked out for the movie. But then there's a good story. I have a quick story. So when Sammy hits Remick with the guitar, that was a breakaway guitar. It was like balsa wood. It's like this really soft, pliable breakaway wood that's really cheap. So we did that a couple of times, and then the script supervisor is looking at the monitor, and he says, you know, the guitar looks fake. You can tell it's fake. Can we put the real guitar, this $3,000 guitar that Sammy still had to play in the movie. Can we put that in the water?
No.
So Ryan Coogler looks at me and says, "That's a prop decision."
Ha-ha.
And so,
What did you do?
So it's one of those moments where you think, I can put this guitar in the water, but he still has to play it. It's almost, I guess, considered an antique.
Yeah.
What is this water going to do to this guitar that he still has to play? And I said, no, we can't do that. But the reason I said no, it didn't have anything to do with Sammy playing the guitar. It didn't have anything to do with the composer owning the guitar. On set, I have an assistant, my assistant prop master. She runs set. Oh, by the way, she was having her first baby on this movie. So we found that out during production. She and her husband had their first baby. And she was gone that day because she was kind of not feeling well. So my thought process was not if I ruin this guitar, but when she comes back to set, she will murder me if that guitar gets ruined. Like, y'all know Melissa, right? That's my concern. So I didn't put the guitar in the water.
Always a woman
So
behind it. I get it.
I'm not scared of her or anything. I'm just saying.
We've had work wives and work husbands. We get it. We don't want that smoke. Literally, I didn't
But that
mean
guitar
that.
was a whole thing. It was worth it to go through all of that because it comes. And I think if you saw any of the like publicity videos after the movie came out of Sammy playing the guitar, that's the actual guitar that he used in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
The story of a guitar. There's something behind everything.
So please
that happens on
appreciate
set.
that guitar next time you watch this movie.
Chasity. Yes. Hardest scene you had to do. What was the most difficult work that you had to hustle through?
Working at Bogalusa Heat.
Bogalusa Heat. I heard the mosquitoes, the heat, everything was just insane.
Rain, the mud.
Yeah. Chiggers. I know in the railroad scene where she comes off the train to talk to one of the twins. She's wearing, is it blue? Is that dress blue? What was it?
Pink.
It's pink?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How many versions of that were made?
If I'm not mistaken, it was 3.
3.
Yeah.
So we had different choices of her. But she's stunning when she comes onto camera in that particular, is it a sweater outfit?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to think, when you're on set, there's a choice that's being made by, I assume, Ruth, on colors. And it can change in a heartbeat.
Yeah, because it was yellow at first.
It
and
was
then they
yellow at
changed it.
first, right?
Yellow.
So next time you look at the film,
Camera test?
Yeah, there was a whole fight about the lip color.
Oh, and then.
I need your
what's the
mics
big-
up.
And then I guess it was red and yellow.
Red, yellow. The dress was a bunch of different colors because there was a fight about her lip color. A lot of the departments work together. So normally, like I was added to your fitting albums, like shared albums. So we're able to see.
They were.
Yeah, we're able to see the photos of the fittings, so we can also plan and design looks, and decide which background person we're gonna actually keep an eye on, and what, like, it was the whole thing. But I do remember Haley, when we did the camera test and she did the fitting, there was a red dress, yellow dress, and then there was a pink dress.
I remember the last 2.
Yeah, and then the thing was, apparently they were going to do the red dress, but the very last minute, and I'm sure more conversations happened between then that I was not privy to, but then we were like, oh, it's pink.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
so-
imagine these are not store-bought dresses.
No.
Someone was
No.
making that.
she has a production place that she gets things created. Is that not correct? Yeah. So you guys were subject to what she was designing, as well as
From scratch. Yep.
exactly.
Oh,
Best-
to answer your question.
Thank
though,
you.
I got it.
Thank you.
So I want to say the hardest thing that I encountered was dressing people in 3 different outfits in that one fitting that was 30 minutes. And then we, a lot of them, like you said, were coming back like they were regular, so they had to have multiples for every scene. So if they were going to the church, they had to have two, especially for the bloody scenes. If you didn't have a double, you could not get blood on you. And that was the hardest thing, because I would be getting calls like, I don't know what to do, but okay, the person is not gonna have to be repeated in clean clothes. They're just gonna be bloody and gone. So yeah.
Yeah, the story of anyone in costumes is you have to have multiples of just about everything, whether it's film, TV, or whatever. But that can be kind of taxing and hard in Louisiana when you only have but 3 stores probably to choose from for those particular items. So I understand that right now I've been given 15 minutes. Okay. So that means you lovely audience members are going to have an opportunity to ask a couple of questions. If you want to line up next to Jillian, or she can walk around, you feel? Okay. If you have a question, please raise your hand.
Thank you for this opportunity. Sinners is one of my top 10 films, and thanks to Miss Pamela. Doug, I went shopping for your props after the film. So I have one of the church bench pews. I have a bale of cotton. I mean, I just bought like everything. Because it's like, I get to have a piece of Sinners. Right. But the best thing is, Pam and I know each other from a nonprofit called Rick Rack. Mm-hmm. Some of you may know. And one of our friends bought us the counter from the Chinese store. Oh. To die for. I mean, I literally have just like laid out like this and rubbed it and loved it. It's just, you have to go to 321 Burgundy Street and see it. It is so perfect for us. So thank you for your gifts to me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your expertise and your stories. And my question is, you've talked a lot about how great kind of the set that Ryan nurtured was. What, as people who work often, like what are the biggest mistakes you see directors make when communicating and working with your particular department that like Ryan didn't replicate that you wish more directors would learn from?
Being more open to suggestions. I don't know if any of you had that conversation with Ryan. Yeah, and it's not that he'll always take them, but he's always open to them. And so sometimes I'll give you a perfect example. When Smoke pulls up to the child's grocery store and he tells the little girl to watch the truck, that little girl is sitting on a bench just by herself. Well, she's holding a flower. So a day or two before that scene, I went to Ryan. I was like, hey, she doesn't have anything. She's just sitting here. Would it be cool if she had this flower? Because, you know, she's a kid and doesn't have a lot. Maybe she found a flower she likes. And he was like, let me think about it. And a day or two later, he was like, hey, where's that flower? Like, he didn't give me any warning. He didn't give us any warning. He was like, bring the flower. So it's just being open to suggestions, and that's part of our jobs, is to bring suggestions to the director. They may not always take them, but it's part of our job to say, hey, did you think about this? Or here's something cool. So if more directors are open to suggestions from every department, I think that would create a better workflow.
Afternoon, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for the fabulous job that you all done. Each of you done. Give it up from y'all, please. I mean, really. Sinners is everything. I know that this is a period piece, of course, that you all done a phenomenal job of capturing, from props to costumes to makeup. And congratulations, young lady, on the come up. But I was interested in knowing also, because Sinners also deals with an ugly chapter in American history. and the good, bad, and indifference of it. If anybody is willing to share how that kind of impacted you all dealing with that particular period in history and some of the things that transpired in the movie that took place, though we know, of course, historically in real life.
For me, it was about not only just acknowledging it, but also paying reverence to it. Everything was done with intention, and I think that was one of the first things I noticed on set. I mean, even talking about the flower, like that flower was the same flowers that he placed on the grave of his baby when he went to go see Annie for the first time, right? The other thing was Ryan was very adamant and intentional about portraying certain things accurately and historically accurately, right? Down to including the natives on horses, their costumes, down to a story Doug said about the dog tags and how Smoke and Stack were actually a part of the Harlem infantry of World War I. We don't really get to see it on the dog tags, but it was there, right? So that also helped, and I heard it firsthand from the actors, that it helps put things in perspective for them so that they can do their job and portray their characters and get into character even more so in telling that story. There were many moments filming this that you just sat in reflection. The sets looked so authentic. The juke joint, they rebuilt the juke joint. I mean, they did the exterior outside, they did the interior inside on stage, but then they had to do it again because they set it on fire, right? So from the pots, the cast iron skillets, the other props that they used, down to the food, the soups. They had a food stylist come and, I mean, you don't get to see this scene. There was a scene that was filmed that didn't make the movie, but the white couple who were the antagonists, who were the first, Joan and Bert, I did Bert, he was a KKK. You saw the uniform, right? But they were having a conversation about infertility, and she made him some infertility soup to eat, so hopefully they would have a baby, which is where the crib comes in at. So a lot of people see the movie and they're like, what the crib got to do with anything? Where's the baby? Well, there was an intricate part that was missed, but it was implied that they were trying to have a baby. There's just so many things about the story, and I guess maybe the viewer doesn't really get to see or put those things together. But if you watch it enough, you do get to see certain things, and you put certain things together, you're like, oh, okay. It's the fact that he was just so intentional. And we also had a social worker, like a counselor, on set. And I love the fact that I worked on Nickel Boys as well, like on a couple of these films that are talking about certain things in our past. They are very conscious about our mental health and how it affects us as we are filming certain scenes, that they do have counselors on set that you are able to sit down and talk to and work through some certain emotions if you need to work through those emotions. So that's how I was impacted.
Any other questions?
Yeah, sorry, I have the mic back here. Hi, first of all, thank you all so much for making this. This is such an important film, and it's a beautiful piece of work. I am a Choctaw filmmaker, and don't often get to see our people being represented on screen. So, when I saw the Choctaw Vampire Hunters at the beginning, I was just like, oh my gosh. And then to see, they're wearing our traditional clothes. And I'm used to looking, being like, well, what did they get wrong? And the language is there and the regalia is there. And I'm very curious if, especially like costuming and props, if you all could talk a little bit, because I know the Mississippi Choctaw tribe was involved in consultation. I'm wondering if you all could speak to what that looked like on set, that collaboration.
A lot of those consultants weren't on set, but we had them on the phone. So the Choctaw consultant, we had a hoodoo expert, if you will. We had a historian as far as what things cost. Like the brothers bought the lumber mill, so I had to talk to a historian about what that would cost. But that goes back to Ryan wanting everything to be authentic and to provide those resources for each department. When you read the script and then you get notes from him, and it's like, call this person because I want this to be right. So I'm sure somebody in costumes talked to the Choctaw person.
One of the main Choctaw people, who was one of the actors, he was one of the lead consultants too. So they actually reached out to the tribe. These are conversations I hear in the trailer, but they went to Mississippi, and same thing with Clarksdale. A lot of the musicians at the train station were musicians from Clarksdale. They brought, when we were in Bogalusa, they came and, were musicians along the railroad station. So he's very intentional.
We have time for one last question. There we go.
Hello. I just wanted to say, this is a really big thing for me. I don't know. Thank y'all so much for, making this movie so real, and, all of the paradoxical, connections and timings, and from the beginning to the end. I'm a senior at Dillard University, so I'm sorry if I'm a little nervous. I've never really, been in rooms like this. But I wanted to ask Lala, I want to ask you a question. They said that they couldn't tell that this was your first time really being on such a big production, and just you knew everything off the bat from the outside, but I know on the inside, I know me, I've only done commercial work in the local New Orleans area. When PAing and camera interning, what are some things that kept you grounded? And during your highs, how you were congratulations, by the way, on the level 600, your highs and your lows when you didn't feel confident in your work. And also, since I have a focus in set design, carpentry, and props, I wanted to know, as a first-timer coming out of college, when you don't have so many options available, especially living in a small city like New Orleans, what are some things that you did to build your portfolio and your confidence as an independent artist looking for work in set design? I'm sorry, that was
a double question.
Sorry. They're all good questions. But as far as being on set for the first time, it was just I was supposed to be there. You go into that room, you go into that set, you're supposed to be there. So act like it. Also, it's not that I knew everything, I was watching. Every time when I'm getting coffee, I'm watching what they're doing, first they see, what they're going to get, how they start their day. It's okay, they're gonna need this case. So I bring that case to them so they don't have to do that. And then they give me tasks to where it's okay, you can slate, you can load, you can do all these other things because you're being intentional and you're soaking up, you're trying to learn. They see that in you, so they give you more and more to do because they trust you to do it. As far as opportunities in New Orleans, I find it to where not necessarily you have to be on the next centers, this big production. You have to network with the people in this building, make films, short films, or whatever, with the people alongside you. That's one thing to build your portfolio. You don't have to be on, because on centers, I have the title, I got the credit for a camera utility, but I can't really, there wasn't anything to show my work. So you have to get with these people that's in this building at your school. You say you going to Dillard, get with those people. They're doing shorts. You have to network across. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's what I'm talking about.
Let me say, we actually appeared at Dillard, this panel, much larger, earlier in the year, just before you guys ended your semester. So you missed us. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
We'll come back.
I'm going to get Doug
We'll come back.
to finish. We will come back. I'm going to get Doug to answer your second part question.
It kind of piggybacks off of Lala's answer. Find just local filmmakers and kind of say, hey, this is what I do, this is what I want to do, and even if it's on a small scale, it's more about getting it done than how large the scale is. Eventually you'll get to those larger scale things. I think Sinners might be the biggest movie I've ever worked on, maybe not, Jurassic World. But yeah, I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, so that's even smaller than New Orleans. So, but for me, it was the people that I met on one show kind of snowballed into getting me all the way here. So it's just, and it kind of, I don't want to steal her thunder, but it's kind of what Issa Rae said. Don't try to ascend, find those people that are there with you and start there and build from there. And a quick shout out, because there's a local filmmaker here, Amaya, over there.
Hey,
I just had to shout her out real quick.
Well, I'm going to close it out and wrap it up and just tag on what you guys have said. Literally, if you want to be in this business and you want to continue, it sometimes is word of mouth. And she and I worked on Is God Is. And the only reason I got a call for Is God Is because the person said on the other line, I heard about you. I have no idea how they found me, but damn Skippy, I took the job, right? It's only because someone admired my work, you know, and I work in a very niche, as much as she does, as a buyer. I'm the only black buyer in the state of Louisiana. I have to bring others along, just as they have all said, we bring others along, and that's how you get into the union, you get to be known. I want to thank everybody for your interest in what we have done, what they have done spectacularly in this film. If you are a voting member of the Oscars, of the Academy, vote for Sinners, because this is what we got. Thank you all so very much.